Oh, welcome back to KSP again. Back in the realism overhaul. Let's wait for this to load up. I have progressed quite substantially since the last video. I made the decision to just do a mountain of pointless repetitive contracts and try and progress stuff to a point where it was actually going to be interesting again for people. Because I can imagine watching the same sort of rocket launch over and over and over again. Probably wouldn't really have been particularly entertaining for anyone. So, as I say, I have made quite a bit of progress. If I show you what I've got. So last time, obviously, I tried to launch a satellite, ScanSat satellite, and it failed. I'll show you what's over there in a minute, but basically, what I did is I modified it, and not only did I manage to get it to launch, I actually successfully launched it from Cape Canaveral still, so still from this normal launch zone, but I managed to launch it directly into a polar orbit. And if you have a look, that has resulted in a complete mapping of the globe. So the Earth is now 100% mapped with low resolution. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pilot this because I think I may have changed it slightly from last time you saw it, just to try and rebalance it. Because if you remember, the torque when under thrust was horrific and it was very, very hard to control. I currently have no connection, but... So, here it is. I have it on advanced smart SAS. It actually makes no difference which way it's pointing, but at least this way it points the actual dish that's scanning towards the surface at all times, which is kind of just a bit of pointless realism as such. It makes no difference. You can point it directly into space and it still scans the planet. I think it's mostly the same. I did sort of move stuff a little up and down and up front and back to try and balance out the torque. I changed the configuration of the engine. It's no longer running hydrazine. In the end, I managed to get enough tech unlocked, which I'll show you in the tech tree in a second, to unlock the NTO and Aerozine 50, which gave it, as you can see, 1,000 meters per second delta V. So this little tiny satellite still has, even in a just about balanced, it's not 100% perfect, but it's 99% into a circular orbit. An apoapsis of 452.5 and a periapsis of 452.4. So I'm quite pleased with it. It's holding its own electricity-wise. It does appear that it loses electricity on the dark side of the planet. Every now and again I come up and check this just to see whether or not... Ooh, science. Whether I can get any more science. Because even though it has completed its whole mapping, 100% completion, look. If I bring this up now so you'll be able to see it properly. Even though you've got 100% completion, it still obtains more science over time. So, this is it, as you can see in the bottom right down here, getting low resolution altimeter readings. So, you know, UK's over here, spreading to Europe and Russia up here, America over here. So, low resolution of the entire Earth is complete. I have done that. As I say, this has got 1,000 meters per second delta V, so I need to do some calculations to find out what I can actually do with that 1,000 meters a second. The answer is probably not a lot, but we shall see. And then if I go back to the tracking station, I'll show you the other cool thing I've managed to do. So I spent a lot of time just redesigning stuff. So that is what was in communication with Earth. Obviously over here I have, well, I got ready a lunar probe, which is going to have an encounter with the moon. It's not a great one. I mean, it's 54 million kilometers. Would that be kilometers? That'd be 850 kilometers. Yeah, so 5.4. And then kilometers off the surface. So I mean, it's miles away. But it will have an interaction with the moon, which is going to allow us to get science from the moon, even if it's high orbit around the moon, which I'm kind of excited about. It's a much bigger payload than the small satellite orbiting the Earth. So this is kind of a replica. I was trying to get a replica of the SOHO probe that was actually designed to take solar readings from around the Earth. Around the sun, sorry. So this is kind of a mini, well, I say mini, it's not a great variant. I'm going to have another go at it, but it's kind of supposed to replicate the SOHO probe. And on it, it has a lot. So I've put 3 of the goo extractors on it. And any reason why that's not taking crew report? Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, that's my fault. Basically, what's happened is when I put this into this orbit that's going to intercept and have an encounter with the moon, see how the here it is. Look, that's the Earth apoapsis. Where's the moon? There it is. So the moon periapsis, its closest approach to the moon, is 8 days and 9 hours away. So I set a delay, because I have no guarantee that this thing is going to be able to communicate with Earth when it reaches the moon. And I didn't want to lose the science. So effectively what I've done is I've just set up 2 more now, which I can't do anything about. But I've set up all of the experiments to trigger when it reaches that periapse. It has almost no fuel left either. I mean, it took literally everything to get this thing on this orbit. So it won't be able to get encapsulated by the moon at all. We are on an escape trajectory of the moon. And then we're going to come, as you can see, crashing back to Earth's atmosphere at probably around 12 kilometers a second and just burn up in the atmosphere. It'll never survive. But yeah, so this is on its way out to the moon, so we'll get some science from that as well. What I wanted to do. I've also made some progress with rockets as well. So I've got some new engines. I've also got quite a lot of science now as well, look. So I've unlocked some more engines. In fact, let me show you the tech tree. It's probably going to be the easiest way while this makes its merry way out on its escape. Makes its way out to the lunar encounter. It's the tracking station. So, interestingly, that SOHO replica probe is 10 times the mass of the low Kerbal orbit probe that's gathering altimeter data. So the one, I don't know if you remember from that video I was trying to do when I was trying to balance the low Earth orbit, the launchers could cope with like 0.3 tons of a payload, and yeah, let's just say the SOHO replica probe is a lot heavier than that. I will show you. I think it was 2.7 tons in the end. So obviously I had to make quite a difference to the rockets in order to get it up there. There we go. This is the SOHO replica. Oh dear. Oh no, there it is. Phew, I thought the game was going to crash then. So obviously the... And what, pray, is that? That is nothing. Okay, we'll ignore that. Yeah. I'm not going to ask what they are. They look like engines. Yeah, okay, I'm going to test this in a minute and find out, because if I didn't know any better, I'm hoping it's just a graphical glitch. But you see down here, where there's a big gap, I think they're the solid rock. solid rocket engines. Yeah, look, see him highlighting. So they are part of the... Yeah, I'm assuming graphical glitch. Anyway, I can fix that later if needs be. So, let's dump the fairings. And here you can see it. So this is a part of the rocket you're familiar with, because this was on my low Earth orbit stage. However, there is now a new main stage at the bottom, which is powered by these 4 quite large solid rocket boosters and the L89 series engine for the majority of its thrust. And overall, we've now got a total of between, say, 9,000 and probably, when we're up there, 11,000 Delta V. So it's not... I think you need about 13... well, you'd probably need all 13,000 to be able to, in a controlled manner, encounter the moon. However, it takes everything we've got just to get up there. But yes, so I get rid of... I show you the overall stats. There it is. So altogether, this thing's 414 tons. The probe, there you go. So the probe is 2.28 tons, which is by far the largest thing we've put into orbit yet. Again, you may have spotted changes to the some of the mods. So what I've done is I've got backups of everything anyhow, just in case, but I'm slowly bringing in the mods that we're going to need for later into the playthrough. Things like station core parts and things. That's probably what some of these are. If I just start a new one, don't save. So there you go. This is the Russian style, or some of the Russian style space parts. There you go. So that's some of the Russian designs. Not sure if there's much else to show you, really. Here's the ejection capsules for it. I think the biggest thing is the amount of engines I've unlocked now compared to last time. You would have seen it. The last, like, 2 nodes in the research tree unlocked a huge amount of engines. So most of my stuff is going to be redesigned from scratch going forward now. So, but what I wanted to do is basically bring you on board and kind of give you an update before I went too far. And I kind of wanted... Don't say that. Kind of wanted you to be part of this. So this has never been flown yet. I've made it. I've designed it. Obviously, you can see it's using the same main stage that the Soho was using. However, it is going to be the first manned... It's going to be the maiden voyage of a manned attempt into orbit. Now, obviously, because the payload is way heavier, well, again, I'll give you an idea of how different it is. It's nearly 2 tons. It's 1.8 tons. It says in the mass in the bottom right, 1.8 tons. So, let me just reopen that just to make sure it hasn't altered the staging. So yeah, so I wanted you to be part of the maiden flight, basically. So it's all prepped, ready to go. Pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to put it on the runway, and we're going to see if we can get one of these lucky guys into orbit. Probably Jeb, I think. He's done some science gathering flights around Earth in a tiny little space plane I designed, which is where he got his what little experience he's got from. Oh, also I installed a where is it? One. There we go. Yeah. Engineering report, just to give a rough idea of if I was missing anything stupid. But yeah, overall this should be good. We'll launch this, see how it fares. I shall get back to you when it's on the runway. Okay, so we're back. It's on the runway. The launch pad. Everything's loaded. I have set up an action group for the escape, literally bound to the abort button. It's quite a intensive rocket stage-wise, but we'll launch it and we shall see how it fares. I have these on fuel pump mode to basically allow us to spool up the engines properly for the launch. Oh, here we go. First kerbal into Earth's orbit. Assuming it goes well. That's not quite the rate of launch I was hoping for. At least it's a clear day. So when these guys come crashing down, it will be not a particularly bad return. I don't actually know what orbit I'll end up on this. Ooh, is that's tilting far too. Ooh, no, I've recovered it. Okay, this flight profile's not great. It's really wanting to pull over. A lot of drag happening on the top of this rocket. And the G-force is also climbing slightly as well. I don't know at what point will Jeb start getting a bit ill, but that is going up. Hovering over the abort button in case I need. I do not want to lose on career mode. I do not want to kill the kerbals. I only have 4, and it costs a fortune to get them. Get new ones. Not to mention void Jebs. You can die. Can't lose Jeb. Should be able to bank over now quite safely. Get rid of those. Okay. I'm still leaving that escape escape on for the time being. Launch escape system on. That's the word I was looking for. Because you never know. Can't really see much from inside. Yeah, he's kind of a bit stuck. The model's really nice. If you didn't spy, I can't remember whether I explained it in the VAB or not, but this is basically this is the beginning of a replica Mercury launch. I can't remember the details about the Mercury launch when it was done. But this is the Mercury capsule. As you can see, we still got just under 3,000 meters a second delta V. So effectively what I'm going to do is, I'm currently just under 2 minutes away from my apoapsis. Which is nearly 200 kilometers. So effectively what I'm going to have to do is chase my apoapsis around the planet. Just to make sure I don't actually start to descend. So so it will go too high. But hopefully I can keep it roughly controlled. The one thing I have found with the realism mods, and more to the point using real solar system, is that maneuvers obviously have to be scaled up. So whereas normally, you know, I could have been in a normal orbit around Kerbin and had time to make a few maneuvers to circularize, alter my inclination and everything. Scatterer appears to be having a bit of a flashy glitch with the engine particle effects. But yeah, unfortunately, the launches themselves take a long time. So I might speed all this up in post-production, or at least maybe cut chunks of the same stuff out, which obviously I can't do if I'm talking. Right, we've nearly hit 200 kilometers. We're just beginning to chase a bit close to the apoapsis, so I'm just going to pick the nose back up. We're only 32 seconds away from apoapsis now, which effectively means we're getting close to nearly falling. What I want to do is balance it so that we're actually not getting much closer to apoapsis at all. We're just chasing it around the planet, getting as much lateral velocity as possible. Which we are picking up slowly. I mean, we're up to nearly 3,000 meters a second orbital velocity. And if I check my other craft, I think you need roughly around 7.2 kilometers a second orbital speed. Yeah, we are gaining orbital speed though, because I can now get very close to horizontal again without getting closer to my apoapsis. So our main launch stage is nearly over though. So I'm just going to point back up and give myself a bit of leeway for when this stage runs out. Because obviously, as soon as we stop thrusting during this stage, we rapidly approach apoapsis, and I don't want to get the wrong side of it. Give myself a 50-second cushion. Scatterer does not like this engine, does it? What the strobing effect is. I think it's the particle effects of the engine overlapping with the scatterer mod. Okay, and in 5 seconds, we are going to be out of fuel in this stage. Ooh. Please stabilize, please stabilize. Okay, we got it. Get rid of that now. Ooh, Scatterer does not like this engine either. Okay, well, I apologise for the strobing effect, but yeah, I think there's probably something between the real plume mod and Scatterer that seems to be clashing with the frame rate refresh. Worse if you look up, so don't look up, look down. We've got 4,000 meters delta V though in this stage, outside the atmosphere, so this is plenty to get us into orbit. Let's get rid of these now. They're not really serving a purpose, no point leaving them in space. Basically, if I complete the orbital insertion, it would be those things would stay in space. There's a tiny bit of a graphical glitch for you. For some bizarre reason, they appear to be pulling apart. suppose it's the downside with using so many mods. So I mentioned last time about, you know, stage recovery. This is what it does when it's successful. So this is what it looks like when it's successful. So this was the parts that were recovered. There's the nose cone, the parachutes, and basically these are the 4 solid rocket boosters. So there's 4 of them because it's all 4 solid rocket boosters. We recovered all of those and got funds from each. About 50% of each of the cost of those was recovered. So we'll see whether or not the parachutes on the other stage, the main insertion, the main launch stage, the central column, actually gets recovered as well. It did have parachutes on, but it's so high in the atmosphere when we decouple from it, it may burn up. But we haven't got a notification from anything yet. Oh, we're doing okay. Slowly being in the insertion here, we're getting very close to orbital velocity very quickly. Just going to make it hard to balance. There we go. There we go. We're in orbit. This has no more things remaining, so we may as well separate it. I may have found a flaw in my staging, since the parachute for that stage is now up here. Prove that. I don't know why I'm having to double click spacebar, that's quite frustrating. So, we are in an orbit. It's not quite circular. I'm 50 kilometers short at the periap, so I could fix that if we wanted. We get to apoapsis and just burn for a few seconds. But I don't really see the need to, actually. I mean, we still have 2.1 kilometers of delta V. Can this guy do an EVA? Yeah, he can. Let's do that EVA report. Select the science. Board again. Oh yeah, let's start the air filter. Forgot to do that, so it was slowly building up carbon dioxide at a faster rate than normal. Let's do a crew report from here. Okay, I'm not sure why that doesn't exist, but oh, let's activate this as well. Oh, I know what I need to do. EVA. Data, store experiments, and reboard. Now I can review too. Here we go. So let's transmit that. And got it. Transmit that as well. You'll notice I have two, because I have 2 antennas. It's transmitting both sets in parallel. Okay. So this is the stage recovery report from the main stage. Okay, unfortunately, it didn't survive. Stage recovery calculated that its terminal velocity would have been fine, however, it basically burnt up in the atmosphere doing 4,000 meters a second. So that stage may need air brakes. Oh, there we go, another milestone. So, as much as we do have some life support. I did put some life support up here for him. So he does have 3 days in space, effectively. He can stop in space for 3 days quite happily. That's this up here. I think this comes with some small life support as well. Yeah, it does. Mercury capsule also comes with built-in RCS. It's not bad, but he is in space. Let's have a look. EVA reports, I can't remember. Is it per biome? Yes, it is. Excellent. So, it's per biome. So, we have 3 days. So, if we bring up... oh, biome there, water. So, if we fast forward... until we're not in the water biome... I really need to kill the rotation. There we go. Persistent rotation is amazing for realism, because you would just continuously spin in space. However, for a kerbal trying to hang on to the outside of a craft is probably not the greatest. Christ, there's a lot of water on this planet. He says as he flies over... oh, goddammit. Flies over 3 more biomes. That'll do. Tropics, we'll get 1. Right, crew reports are not biome related. Let's review the data there, transmit that. So Q reports, yeah. Crew reports are not biome specific, it's just near, so we can forget crew reports now, it's just about the EVAs. And I missed Shores, apparently Shores was there briefly. It wouldn't be so bad if I could see the planet, I'd have some kind of idea. But unfortunately... the tiny little light that is being emitted from inside is barely enough to light up the inside. Oh, what I could do... do you think this guy will be able to hang on? Oh, okay, can't work faster while they're on a ladder. Fair enough. Aha, we're about to enter the sun side. I'm hoping X-Science can take care of cancelling the warp for me. It does! Brilliant. Fantastic. So that's better. I should have had X-Science open the entire time. Why can't I board? Oh no. Oh no. That's awkward. I seem to have lost all control over... oh dear. Damn! That's unfortunate. I think it's just keyboard interrupts. Yeah, I haven't got any of the interactions, look. Well, I haven't got long to figure it out because he's going to suffocate. He has very little while he's EVAing. Like, the worst part of it is he has... yeah, you can hold the hang on to the outside for a day. Yeah, all keyboard. I can't do anything. Keyboard is stuck. Is there a mouse? Can I think? Is there a mouse command? Right, well, there's no point recording all this. I will try and fix this. If not, I may have to relaunch and get us back into an orbit while we collect the signs. But good news is, you got to actually see it, and we are in a stable orbit before it crashed. So, or part crashed, whatever the hell's happened. So, yeah, we'll probably leave it here, actually. I will probably fine tweak some new stuff. Get basically a nicer looking version of the Mercury built, because obviously having this ridiculously just long, crappy tube underneath bolted directly onto the heat shield just wouldn't happen. But this was a test flight in its sort of essence, so... But yeah, thanks for watching, and we shall see you next time.